You can buy Trauma Bonded, a true story of navigating attachments forged in complex PTSD by me, anywhere books are sold, including Audible.
My mission president, I still remember him with great pride, and I loved him dearly. The only thing I felt bad about is when I had my mental breakdown on my mission. He didn't have the power of discernment to figure out what had happened. And so in time, I thought, well, geez, my anguish was horrible, and it was tremendous. And I thought,
would you mind sharing that story with us?
yeah, I'd been on my mission about 2.5 years, about a year and a half. It was a 2.5 year mission because there was no language training then. I went in 1961. And anyway, when my mission president was a delightful man, and I liked him very much. And I was pretty successful in the mission, and I learned Spanish really fast. I had been really a poor Spanish student before that. At college, I got a D the first semester and F the second semester. But when I finally got to Mexico as a missionary, I thought, I'm going to really, really settle down. I'm going to really learn this stuff. And I did. I worked. That's probably why my Levi's still don't fit me, because I must have worked my butt off. Because anyway, I worked hard, and so I became kind of a poster boy, and I really liked him, and I liked my mission companions, and it was the first time in my life that I started feeling like I was somebody, because people said, "Oh, Elder Richins, you're so smart," and I'm going, "What? Maybe I am, yeah, just maybe I am," and so I worked hard, and but I was starting to feel some depression, because there's a lot of pressure of being on a mission. I cannot,
Yeah.
and I had a missionary companion, and he and I were walking around one day. We didn't go out to proselytize that day. We just went for a walk down at the river, and it was summertime in Mexico, so I'm sure it was 110, 111, 112.
Yeah, sweltering.
And we were out there walking around in this heat, and that heat beats you to death. Just
yeah.
And when we got home, he said, "Elder Richins, would you mind if we just went for a walk today, and rather than going out and tracting?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go," because I was feeling some depression myself. I was feeling kind of low. And when we got home from that walk, he said, "Elder," he said, "I don't belong here. I don't believe. I've got to go home."
Wow.
And that shocked me. I'd never been around that, never seen that, didn't know you could do that or could feel that way. And it really shocked me. And so I called the mission president. He said, "Well, bring him up to the mission home." And it's about 300 or 400 miles away from where I was, and so I had to take him on a bus, and we went up to let him go. And while I was there, the mission cook, as a traveling elder, I'd spent a lot of time in the mission home. And the cook said, "Oh, Elder Richins, I know why you're here." I said, "Why?" He said, "You're going to be the new AP." I wanted to be the AP really badly, because that was prestige.
That's right.
And I said, "No, I don't think so," because I just brought I didn't tell her why, but I said, but I knew. I said, "I just brought that kid up to send him home because he was upset. He was mentally, physically upset. And he was one of the brightest guys I'd ever met."
Did he ever share with you why he no longer believed? Did he give you any of that information?
Yeah, he did. And what started his crack was the story about the barge, and where he said, if you're going to have to make it a small tight hole, because if it were a window, it would shatter and break.
Shatter.
And he knew this kid had gotten a 4.0 at BYU, and he knew that there wasn't glass in those times, and so he couldn't have been that. And so that bothered him, and I guess it festered. And then pretty soon, we'd been companions about a month and a half or so, and all of a sudden he couldn't go any further. The funny thing about cognitive dissonance, you can only carry it so long or it'll start killing you up here.
Yeah, there's actually research that demonstrates that when you are in that type of conflict, it creates inflammation throughout the body from overproduction of stress hormones, so cortisol and adrenaline, and it literally causes disease. And the first thing that it attacks is your immune system, and the second thing it attacks is your cardiovascular system.
Oh yeah, it must, because
So
anyway. So while I was there, I got a companion, one of the Udalls from St. John's, and I was so excited. I got this new companion. I said, "Let's go back and let's go to work," because I still wanted to be a really good missionary. Although I had been feeling some depression, but I didn't know what it meant or whatever. But I don't know if any of you have ever had a depression that kind of starts as a slow downward cycle. That's kind of what it felt to me. So we got part of the way down, and we stopped in a town called Los Mochis that I had worked in, and I was the zone leader. And so I said, "Well, Elder, let's stop in here and stay overnight with the elders." And they were going to have a branch party that night, and I loved the people in the branch because I'd been there, and so we had a wonderful party. And my companion and I slept on. The elders had a double bed and had two mattresses on. They pulled one off and threw it on the floor, and we slept on that one. And I woke up in the morning and I was just looking at the ceiling, and my body told me nothing's the same. Something's wrong, Barry. All of a sudden, I had these inklings that I was broken. And I knew that something was really wrong, but I didn't know what it was. So we got up later, and I said, "Elder, let's get back to our little town, which is about 40 miles away." And we got on the bus and went down there. And I said, "Let's go right out and tract." And so we started tracting. And all of a sudden, my legs turned to rubber. And my body starts to shake. And I was suffering from anxiety. And I had no idea what was wrong with me. And that scared me awfully because I had no reference to anything. And then I said, "Well, Elder, I think we got to go home." So we went home, and I sat there for a while and dealing with my guilt. Let's go out and try again. Had to go home. And I tried that for 2 or 3 days. And pretty soon I was a complete wreck, and I was feeling suicidal. And tell you, I was scared. I had no idea what was wrong with me. It wasn't until 30 years later I was talking to my psychologist, and she said, "Barry, you had a nervous breakdown." I said, "That's what happened?" I said, "What was it, nervous or physical?" She said, "Doesn't matter." She says,
both.
"When the body or the mind can take no more, it shuts down." And she said, "You dissociated with your body."